Let's talk about kelp. Kelp is a vital, vital plant. This is one of the wonderful things that is so abundant on this earth is kelp. It's called by lots of different names. There's like 2,000 different species of it, but it all comes together that it's kind of like kelp. That's really, kelp is just seaweed, and there's just different kinds of seaweed, then we call it kelp. It all contains different amounts of iodine. Like for instance, bladderwrack, which is a common known type of kelp, has about 10 times less the amount of iodine in it that kelp has. And so for some people who may feel a little sensitive in that area, maybe kelp's a better choice for them. But some people who may need a little bit more of that iodine in their diet, bladderwrack is a great choice also. But I just kind of mix both of them together because they're really nourishing and help support the thyroid. It's a really interesting thing about it is found all kinds of around the rocky shores everywhere on earth. I mean, it's like both of those, the bladderwrack and the kelp, are brown algae, and they're found just everywhere and harvested in beautiful, beautiful oceans. A lot of them up by Nova Scotia, some in the Pacific coast, but a lot of them in the Atlantic coast and up in the cold, cold regions where you get this beautiful, wonderful, pure kelp. And it is really incredible for the body. You can eat the whole plant. It's very fishy smelling and very fishy tasting. My sister, who's a little bit of a purist in eating really, really healthy foods, she puts it on her table as a salt, as a salt shaker, and her kids use it kind of in place of salt and some seasoning and things like that, which is kind of cool. Nothing that ever took off very good in my household, but it's a great option. And then the Chinese used to use kelp by mixing it with honey and just feeding it to weak patients or children or people who needed to get stronger. And so that's kind of a cool thing. It is considered the vegetable of the sea. People from Japan and China and Korea, they've used it for thousands and thousands of years. And it's usually recommended for any problems in this area, the throat or anything in the thyroid or even the thymus area. This plant supports that area and seems to help the body protect itself from invasions of, quite frankly, radiation. And there's a component in the kelp that binds to it and makes the radiation go out of the body. That's really super important. What can we do to help our body so it's the healthiest and the strongest that it can be? There is something we can do in our own bodies for ourselves. We can nourish our bodies with lots of great foods, healthy foods to make great cells, and we can take kelp into our body. There was a study done on some German soldiers years and years ago, and it showed that the soldiers who were bombarded with radiation didn't have thyroid issues if they took kelp, which is a great discovery. Because we are bombarded by radiation, our thyroids are just constantly overworked, and what happens is this radiation that comes from our radiation towers and our cell phones and our microwave ovens. I mean, the microwave ovens, they used to be the big dangerous thing where don't stand by the microwave, but yet we take the food out and we would eat it, this microwaved food, or take, like I always getting on my kids for microwaving the butter, saying, don't microwave the butter, you have this great bread, why are you microwaving the butter and putting it on their bread? But it's just our world. It's what we live in. It's what we're used to. And the radiation from cell phones is 10 times at least what standing in front of a running microwave is. So what do? We protect our body. We strengthen our body. Tons and tons of studies and research show that kelp takes care of lots of issues as far as mineral deficiencies in the body and vitamins and nutrients that kelp actually has in the body. The Japanese eat a lot of kelp, and they eat it with sushi and in salads and lots of different ways, and it is just something that naturally helps absorb some of that radiation, and that's really great for for their community, and hopefully that is helpful, which we know it is helpful for their community. But for us, we need to be able to, for us that don't have those kind of things in our diet, we need to put those in our diet in lots and lots of different ways. Kelp is a complete protein, having all the essential amino acids, all in one little plant. So your cells recognize it and your body recognizes it. It has all the essential amino acids. You know, it's really, you know, people put together lots of formulas and lots of nutraceuticals trying to get all the essential amino acids, and it's right there in one plant. It actually is a thickening agent that swells when it gets in contact with water, and it can be used as a laxative, kind of a mild laxative, and help to ease digestive issues. It also can help have put a coating kind of on the stomach, and sometimes it can help people who have heartburn symptoms. It eases some of those. It's known for improving the body's ability to have T cell function. Now, I want to be really careful how I say that, because, you know, I'm not a doctor, but I want to talk to you about that, because T cell function is really important to know. T cell function is your immune cells, and there are T cells, and then there are killer T cells. And killer T cells, they're known to be activated T cells, as I understand them. And that's what we want to do. We all have this T cell function in the body, but we want to activate those T cells. And how we do that, or how I believe we do that, is by nourishment, by more nutrients in the body. If you want your cells to work better, if you want to have more T cell function or killer T cell function, you feed the body more nutrients. Well, it's known that kelp helps the body with this type of function. It also helps to cleanse the body. People who have had radiation overdoses or radiation problems, or even just lots of symptoms that could be caused by radiation, could benefit from kelp. And kelp is one of those plants that you can eat a lot of it. You know, I take it in a capsule form, but some people make it in a tea form. Some people just mix it up in the honey or in a drink and just drink it down. Some people put it in their greens with their alfalfa and their barley grass. But whichever way you take it, just take a lot of it. Make sure you take enough of it. Start out with a small amount and then work up. Some people just like to eat it as salad. They will put it in nori all cut up in their salad, or they'll eat it in sushi or whatever. And that's a great way to do it if you love the taste of it. But me, I'm kind of like a capsule girl. I'm going to take it in my capsules, and that's because that's going to be the easiest way for me. When I make a smoothie, I might have some there that I'll put in, but certainly I don't put too much of it in because it tastes like fish. So for me, I usually do it in capsules or have my kids mix it up another way. Kelp is full of vitamins and minerals, including folic acid, calcium, magnesium, potassium. The body takes iodine to make 2 of the 3 thyroid hormones in the body as an antioxidant to help kind of clean out all the rusty pipes. That's just kind of my way of explaining what an antioxidant does, but it's just full of the antioxidant properties, and it can help the body increase energy levels and stamina levels. And so it's a really great thing for people who have low energy, but they have a hard time taking, if they don't want to take anything that kind of hypes them up or has any caffeine at all. Kelp is really great for that. Kelp is great for pregnant moms and their babies in development. It's been shown that women who eat lots of kelp or have kelp in their diet have lots of wonderful healthy babies. And it also can help with morning sickness too, helping the body to normalize lots of different things that are happening in the body, and giving the body lots of minerals and nutrients to overcome, you know, that feeling of morning sickness symptoms that come around and sometimes are hard to beat. Kelp is so good for so many things. It's a natural cleanser. It helps the body with the immune function. It helps neutralize waste in the body. It helps the body handle inflammation and helps clean out when your body's too acidic and inflamed. It is incredible for nerve ending and nutrient building for the nerves. I don't know how to say that exactly right. The sheathing on the end of the nerves, they become inflamed or worn down, and we have lots of neurological problems. There's lots of epilepsies or shaking or like even numbness or problems in the body. They're all neurological problems, nerve endings. Well, the nerve endings, it's really hard to nourish them because it's so tiny. The molecule has to be so precise. The nutrients have to be so precise to go in that deep into the small little nerve endings and nourish them. And kelp is one of those things that can help the body do that. Iodine acts as a natural tranquilizer in the body, and so maybe that's one of the reasons that it helps with nerve ending. It's known to be very soothing for your throat. People can mix it in tea and drink it. It soothes your throat if it's inflamed. Kelp helps the urinary tract function better, and the bladder and the prostate. It helps the body in that lower region. Somehow there's nourishment that comes in that area. All of those areas, all the sex organs, all of the lower colon is nourished by kelp. Kelp seems to help enhance the body in those areas as far as functioning well, as far as fertility, and even working with hormonal balances in the body. Kelp helps the body in so many different ways. Traditionally, it's been used by herbalists for kidney symptoms and bladder symptoms and prostate symptoms, issues there, and uterus problems. That's what herbalists historically used it for, but they also used it for a supplement for nourishment on a daily basis for thousands and thousands of years. Sometimes guys who get up in the middle of the night and have to go to the bathroom a lot, sometimes they can take kelp, and that seems to help and settle that down, and so they don't seem to get up quite as much. Bladderwrack has been studied quite a bit. There's some studies that it helps symptoms in women associated with endometriosis and menopausal symptoms, menstruation problems, and sometimes just adding a little bit of it into your diet could see if that's what may be the missing component for you. Just a little bit of more nourishment, and maybe some of the symptoms of some of these diseases can settle down in the body. There's some studies showing that repeated small doses actually helps decrease breast milk in moms who are trying to stop nursing. The interesting thing about that is when you take large amounts of kelp, it tends to increase the amount of breast milk. But when you take small amounts of kelp, it decreases the amount of milk that the mom has. Interesting, huh? Kelp is also a really, really great fertilizer. I was introduced to it as a fertilizer by a lady we call in town as the tomato lady, and she's pretty famous for her kelp mixture. In fact, you mix a little bit of mixed water with your kelp and you put it on your tomatoes and have fabulous tomatoes in the desert. They really are healthier and stronger. My sister had experience with that, but with using organic things in her garden. But kelp just seems to have the magic nutrients that grow great tomatoes here in town. So look that up, the tomato lady, and think of your body as that. Think of your body as you're making really great fruit or really great specimen here, and so you want to feed it really great stuff just like we feed our tomatoes. We want to feed these same nutrients to ourselves. Sometimes cattle is given kelp. They'll mix it up in their feed if they're sickly, and it helps them regain their strength and vibrancy. And it's kind of interesting. That's a great thing for elderly people, is give them kelp and help them regain some of their vibrancy. There's a reason we have kelp at the very beginning of this course, because kelp is really important. Kelp can be obtained anywhere in the world. Almost any market has some type of kelp in it, and it's an important herb for us to all try and use and incorporate into our diet. My favorite way of taking kelp is to mix some of it into alfalfa grass and some young barley grass and oat grass and some wheat grass, and mix it in there with whatever else I got hanging out that is green. I want my greens formula to be green. Sometimes we try to mix too many things into make an all-one formula, and so this is where I want to encourage you, don't do that. If you're going to use kelp, make it for an energy formula, or make it for that supports the thyroid, or make it for with your greens, and you can just mix it in part of it, and I just mix it in water or juice and drink it along with the alfalfa and barley and all of that, and it doesn't taste like kelp at all or like fish at all. And I like mixing it with my other herbs. Some people like to take it straight, but however you take it, Eat your kelp, especially in this day and age. It's important. And feed it to your dogs. Feed it to our plants and feed it to ourselves, but maybe feed it to our dogs and our cats and our birds and everybody we love.